All right, look, on my channel, we get straight to the content. Now, before I go pick up my daughter from school, gotta talk to y'all about the latest episode of Joe Buttons. Now, listen, multiple videos I talk about in these YouTube streets. If you're in these YouTube streets like me, tell me you in these YouTube streets in the comments. Leave a like. Now, listen, episode of Joe Buttons. If you're familiar with my other Joe Buttons content, I've been saying how they don't research nothing. They start talking about Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. I'm going to talk to y'all about that fight. But before I get into that, these niggas don't research something again. So you hear Marc Lamont Hill. Now, if you're familiar with my other content, y'all know how I feel about Marc Lamont Hill. Marc Lamont Hill is just a weird guy. He's just a weird guy. I'm not coming at him about Cole or none of the other stuff I do. Just if you familiar with the JBP with him on it, he's just an awkward guy, bro. And I'm not even talking about the coats. They say he don't never wear a coat. Listen, so they start talking about Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul, right? The way Marc Lamont Hill reacted was weird. Like, he's like, oh, I can't stand them. I hate them. I can't stand them. And it's just like, yo, bro, what did Jake and Logan Paul do to you? Like, are you being one of those black people that hate white people just because they're white? Because if you're acting like that, I'm going to think you're weird, bro. He was being weird. And then he's saying how he hates Jake Paul and Logan Paul. But then he's talking about how he felt like Drake was wrong for sending the axe emoji to Ebro along with messages in the DMs, right? Now, if you're not familiar with Ebro disrespecting Drake, do your research. Now, Kendrick Lamar beat Drake in that battle, and it made me feel real cringe to listen to current Drake. I could go back and listen to old Drake. That current shit, it makes me question my blackness, so I can't listen to it. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, right? But the fact that Joe Budden's podcast doesn't do enough research, Marc Lamont Hill gets away with saying a lot of bullshit. So he's saying like, yo, Drake is over the top for sending that because he was just critiquing you in a battle. Ebro wasn't just critiquing him in a battle. He literally called Drake a cancer to hip hop. Now, I don't know how y'all feel about hip hop music. Hip hop music is multiple things. It's not just one thing. For him to call Drake a cancer to hip hop was always over the top. But Ebro was always over the top because I'm an old head, he an old head, but he's a grouchy old head. And I told y'all before, you can always tell when Marc Lamont Hill likes somebody because he always kinds to kiss their ass. He kisses ass when he likes somebody. So his take on Ebro and Drake coming at him, it's like, yo, Marc Lamont Hill, you're doing that thing where you kiss people's ass. And we can tell who you like and who you don't like. You're sitting here saying, and I love, and I can be real critical of Joe Buttons. I love when Marc Lamont Hill was talking shit and Joe Buttons asked, well, can you beat Jake Paul? He was like, oh, no, he'll fuck me up. So Marc Lamont Hill, shut the fuck up. You're being annoying, bro. You don't like the Pauls for whatever reason you don't like them. Shut up, bro. Now, they start talking about the fight. So Marc Lamont Hill talks about how Jake Paul never had a professional fight. And then everybody lets him go on this little rant. Yo, he did have a professional fight. He fought Tyson Fury's brother, Tommy Fury. And he lost. And he didn't look good. Tommy Fury actually was giving him the beats. But they're so focused on, like, Marc Lamont Hill says, oh, he was fighting trash cans. He wasn't fighting trash cans. He was fighting MMA people whose expertise is not boxing. They're not trash cans, but they're not elite level boxers. But also, if you're a fan of boxing like me, no one, when they're climbing the ranks, fight a bunch of elite level boxers. So you can feel how you want to feel about Jake Paul, but him fighting MMA fighters, even if they aren't necessarily boxers are better than, let's say, and I'm a fan of this person, Devin Haney. Devin Haney fought a bunch of trash cans. Devin Haney, if y'all don't know about him, I'm not going to go on a crazy boxing rant. He had like 100 amateur fights in Mexico, so he is super fighting trash cans. And then if you look at Floyd Mayweather, if you look at early Mike Tyson, like a lot of these guys, if you look at where Jake Paul is trajectory-wise in comparison to boxers, well, he's fighting people better early on in his career. That's not even debatable. You could say what you want about him fighting MMA people, but they had a better chance of beating him than some of the people that these boxers fight early in their career. But you can't, Marc Lamont Hill rarely gets pushback from the JBP because niggas don't do their research, bro. And I'm not going to put it on Joe, but like you got Flip up there, he don't know shit. You got Ice that don't do his research. You got Ish that don't never do fucking research, but want to speak on everything. But he don't watch nothing. He's late to everything. Yo, the world could end and Ish wouldn't know until the next day. This is old head mannerisms that I refuse to take part in, right? So I give y'all, I feel like if it's a regular fight, no bullshit, I feel like Anthony Joshua is going to win. Now, granted, I'm a really big boxing fan. So Joe talks about how Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz. They call him Anthony Ruiz. These niggas don't be knowing what they're talking about all the way. They don't do their research. So it's Andy Ruiz, right? If you're not a boxing fan and you look at Andy Ruiz, you will say, yo, how did Anthony Joshua lose to him? Going up to that fight, I won money on that fight because I picked Andy Ruiz. You know why? If you look at Andy Ruiz, he is built like a fucking chicken nugget. But if you actually watch him fight, Andy Ruiz has elite level hands. He just doesn't take care of his body. So when they're talking about the people that Anthony Joshua lost to, they're not necessarily saying, like Joe is talking to it like, oh, he lost to Andy Ruiz, he's corny. No, that doesn't make him corny because a lot of these heavyweights could possibly lose to Andy Ruiz and he literally doesn't take care of his body. You know what I mean? So in his fight, I feel like now Anthony Joshua is like 6'6", 250, right? Now, I'm going to get into the nerd, just in case y'all want to lay a bet, I'm going to get into the nerd aspect of it. If y'all don't hit, don't bother me in the comments. Anthony Joshua is like 6'6", 250, right? Jake Paul like 6'1". He probably got up to 230, I don't know, right? Now, when I say Anthony Joshua is 6'6", 250, 240, you have to remember what I'm saying. Anthony Joshua can dunk a basketball, and if you look at him, he's in great shape, no diddy. No, dunking a basketball is not everything, but if you're 6'6", 240, 250, and you can't dunk a basketball, and you're in shape, you're not athletic. So he's way bigger than Jake Paul, but Jake Paul could possibly fight a strategic fight where he avoids a lot of the damage that Anthony Joshua can give him. I just don't think he's on the level hands-wise of a guy like Andy Ruiz or some of these people that Anthony Joshua lost to do that the whole time if Anthony Joshua is really trying to hunt him down and punish him, because Anthony Joshua has tremendous power, but he has stone feet. He's not athletic. He moves slow. Everything is slow. His jab is slow. His overhand right is slow. His body shots are slow. He's moving slow with his feet. Jake Paul actually has good movement as a boxer, but in the back of my mind, I take Anthony Joshua. I'm not necessarily going to say by KO, but if Anthony Joshua is not taking a dive and really going and like really thinking about fighting, like, and hold on, y'all, and he's like really in his bag, I feel like he should KO Jake Paul, because in the later rounds, maybe like 6 or 7. I got kids, this shit stuck in my head. But like, because Jake Paul will not be used to having to move like that in a boxing ring, and he would tire out and eventually get caught by Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua, you don't really want to get caught by his shots. You're going to get knocked out. But just like I said, overall, the new episode of JBP was an excellent episode. But now, granted, I was a huge Joe Rogan fan. Joe Rogan went too far with politics and I had to get away. The JBP hasn't done that because we have Joe Buttons doing his thing. Gotta be careful of a dude like Marc Lamont Hill. So you had Joe Rogan go extremely right. You don't want Marc Lamont Hill turning the podcast to extremely left. You just don't. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. And a lot of his breakdowns and like his feelings and stuff like that, the fact that the cast doesn't have pushback is the reason why he can get a lot of bullshit off. During this episode, one of the most cringiest things you could ever hear is Flip talk about, yo, what they doing to our culture. Flip, it's not your culture, bro. You're Caribbean. We ain't forget about your jokes about the Negro Leagues. You're not a black American. You're a Caribbean, bro. Stop. No, people buying up the culture. It's not your culture to even discuss, bro. Tap the fuck out, bro. Marc Lamont Hill, listen, not really a Marc Lamont. Marc Lamont Hill really is like a wash on the podcast for me. I don't know about y'all, but it's just bullshit. Like, also, I gotta say this before I end this, because I gotta pick up my daughter. Are y'all tired of, I keep spitting, Jesus Christ. Are y'all tired of Queen's Flip and Marc Lamont Hill arguing about who's on the Tuesday show, who's on the Friday show? I really don't give a fuck. Tell me how y'all feel about that in the comments. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. I'm out.